I'm Oscar and welcome to the Scouting for Goals Game Week 27, where I'm utilizing the Scout Members area tools to help me decide my best action for the upcoming game week. I'll be answering some of your most common questions later in the video, but first off, let's take a look at my team. I'm recording this before the Wednesday games, so we will have more info on who has played and who has looked good. But for now, these are my transfer thoughts. An injured Harvey Barnes was the most transferred in player last game week, so there will be many in the same boat as me who ask themselves, what do we do with Barnes? I'm not totally sure that he is a priority for me to sell, strange as it may sound. I will almost certainly ship him ahead of game week 29, where I will try and field 8 to 10 players. I'm considering 3 options at the moment if I was to sell him: Saka, Lingard and Rafinha. I also like the look of Pepe, but I can't afford him in a straight swap, so he might be a part of a double move instead, which would require a -4 hit, and it would look like Bruno and Calvert-Lewin out to get Kane and Pepe. All these players that I'm looking to potentially bring in have a fixture in game week 29. If we go to the Rate My Team tool and click Create Team from scratch, we can see how many points the algorithm expects these players to get. Remember that Lingard is ineligible to face Manchester United in game week 28. The algo prefers Rafinha, so that is worth pointing out, and his price is amazing. And then Lingard is basically tied with him if we exclude game week 28, which I think makes the comparison more fair. I'm now going to look at the most popular public stats table that revolves around midfielders. Dusra's Midfield Morodos is a favorite within the community, and here it's beneficial to sort by last 2 matches. I found that Saka was very low in these metrics, and Pepe wasn't that impressive either, considering he costs 2 million more than some of these guys, so I excluded him, and instead I have added Pereira to the table, who have decent stats, but he blanks in game week 29, so that's more of a move for some of you guys to see, because I'm not getting him in my team, personally. Rafinha, he has the least amount of goal attempts and big chances created. I think it's a bit encouraging that Lingard has the most shots in the box despite facing Manchester City in his last game. Lingard and Rafinha face each other in the next game, and I always fancy an attacker's chances versus Leeds, so getting Lingard, that would mean spreading my risk a little bit because I already own Bamford. And I don't own Antonio, so it seems like the best route to go at the moment if I was to transfer out Barnes. The other possible move is to sell Bruno, and there's a couple of routes one could take to do so. One is to focus on getting Kane, so let's see if that's worth a hit. This is assuming Calvert-Lewin does not have a double game week at 28, so let's not look too far into this because it might be a waste of time if he does have a double, but it's still something to be ready for and consider. Back to the Build My Team tool and just get these 4 players in and compare. Taking the hit to remove Kane for Bruno seems worth it if we can find a decent captain in 28 instead of Bruno. West Ham are tough to beat, but I still fancy Bruno's chances in that game, so it might be worth keeping him for that game. I'm also not entirely convinced either that I would want to sell Bruno and lose $500,000 in the team value. Holding Bruno and Salah and then sell Salah instead in game week 29 would make me lose a lot less cash if I was to wildcard in game week 30, which I plan to do. I wouldn't mind selling Bruno for Bale or Auba either, and just ignore Kane for 3 more weeks. Yet another move is to sell Bruno and Gundogan and buy Rafinha and 1 out of Sterling or De Bruyne. This would give us a captain that isn't Gundogan in 27, and 1 more player in 29, Rafinha, but I wouldn't be able to get Lingard then. The question that I think we should be asking ourselves is if it's really worth a couple of transfers to switch around Manchester City assets, and I don't think that KDB and Sterling can justify costing double of what Gundogan does at the moment, so I guess I would just roll with Gundogan for now. Enough about my team, let's go through your Twitter questions. M. Asep is wondering if he should be thinking about selling Bruno for Auba, and F. Perpetual asks, is it time to sell Salah or wait for Fulham's game in game week 27? Salah is the most expensive player in the game right now, but is not delivering like one, and Bruno doesn't deliver versus the big teams, so I think selling either of those is fine, but it's a bit of a luxury move, meaning most teams would have other fires to put out. It's arguably a bit sideways since Auba is projected to score similarly as the others, if not less, between 28 and 27. But of course Auba has a game in hand, and I like selling Bruno this week particularly because he seems so benchable versus Manchester City, crazy as it sounds. If you like me are thinking about benching Bruno, then it might be just better to sell him now. I like selling Bruno more than I like selling Salah considering the fixtures they both have. We have one last question about which players to target for the weeks leading up to game week 29. So if you've been following me, you know that this is exactly my dilemma. But let's see what the fixture ticker looks like. Newcastle is up top, but I can't really recommend anyone from there. However, we see that all teams to play in 29 is ranked highly here, except for West Ham and Fulham. But as I've been saying about Lingard, one bad fixture in between 27 and 29 is fine, of course, if you have a decent squad depth to replace him in that game week. And it's not like Manchester United's defense is spectacular either if you choose to go for Antonio instead of Lingard in that game week. Brighton has two nice fixtures though, in game week 28 and 29, and Dunk is probably the asset I would go for there. I don't really trust Arsenal. Whenever there's a blank game week, people fall into the trap that is Arsenal, and we wouldn't have considered these assets if they didn't have a game in 29, and their only really good fixture here is versus Burnley, so I don't mind getting in an Arsenal player in for that specific game, and of course they play in 29, but getting one in 28 or 29 doesn't seem as optimal. That's all I had for you this game week. Thanks for your questions. And if you want your questions featured in the next episode, follow me on Twitter so we can chat there. Subscribe to the channel if you want more content like this. I'll be looking for you in the comments here on YouTube, so let me know if you have any further questions, and good luck in this double game week.